Hello, everyone. We haven't connected in a while, so I thought it was time to drop in and forward to you what it is that the guys want you to know leading up to 2020. I'm a little cold. I put on a sweater. So we're going to give it a few minutes and allow other people to join us. How are you guys? Where are you from? And are you hearing me properly? Please let me know if there's a glitch or if there's anything or if it sounds clear to you. All right, the US is in the house, and Amsterdam, and Brazil, and Cuba, and Bahrain. Oh, Canadian in Bahrain. Cool. And Norway's in the house, and Serbia's in the house, and Budapest. Wow. Ooh, France, Romania, Indiana. Oh, a lot of people are in the house right now. Turkey, and Canada, and Ireland, and Romania, and Dublin. Oh my God, and Saudi, and New Zealand. Oh, that's so incredible. I can't wait to travel and start bumping into some of you. Shanghai, and Miami, and Chicago, and Maine, and Istanbul. The person in Maine, you are loved. I just wanted you to tell you that. Maine, 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 yes. And who else? Holland, and NYC, and Mexico City. Wow, this is awesome. And Ecuador. So we have lots to discuss today, and it's all going to be under the umbrella of entities and entity possession and parasitic energies and what we used to call demons, which actually serve a purpose. And we're going to get into some of that today. Yeah, I'm just giving it a couple more minutes for people to join. But this is really important information as it applies to this coming year that we're moving into. Your guides, your angels really want you to flush out your vibrational field. They really want you to get in there and not be afraid to confront what it is that you're afraid of so that you can then dispel those energies and come into a greater measure of who you are. So I'm going to take this Instagram thing off. That way I can fully focus on you. And if you'd like to be notified in the future when I do these lives, because they're usually off the cuff, you can go ahead and subscribe. I don't know if there's another way to receive notifications. The only way I know of is you can subscribe and then it'll pop up on your phone whenever I go live. So that's an option to you. And also, I'm going to attach a link below if you would like to contribute to my cause, to my mission. You can always donate. I appreciate that, but please don't feel obligated to ever. Don't ever feel obligated to do anything you don't want to do. And let's get into it. So, all right. One of the messages that came in today was that something along the lines of entity possession can only happen if you still have a tendency to polarize. And I'm going to explain that to you. So in an older energy, I would see it as, and I still do, it's still very relevant, but I see it differently now. And thank you, Denise, for that donation. Love and light. And I'm hugging you with my etheric body right now. So in an older energy, I used to perceive it as your aura was like this big bubble of light. And whenever you would go against your truth, or whenever you would do something that was not in alignment with your spirit, meaning propelling yourself forward on your path, not being regressive and going backwards, you would almost like puncture the bubble. And the bubble was like a tear or a rip in your aura, and it would create an opening. Just like when a rabbit burrows itself in, it's a barrel. And what happens is when you create this opening or this hole or this burrow, there are other entities that can weasel their way into your field and nest in your auric field. And from there, it's like they now have an opportunity to take over your system by means of implanting thoughts within your mind that are not for your highest good. And if you take the bait on that thought, then they're able to multiply themselves. It's very much like when you see raccoons and there's one raccoon that finds garbage and it calls other raccoons like, come on guys, and it's beckoning them to come join them. So how it works is that there are all these infinite structures within you that connect to other realms and dimensions and dimensions and dimensions. And it's very much like a slingy where you have all these spheres of realities that are overlapped on top of each other. And that's not even a proper presentation because they're not really overlapped. They're all happening at the same time, if you will. And we start to understand these concepts a little more clearer when we go quantum. And I specialize in quantum, and I'm here to help you interpret these messages, help you break down what's happening to you so that you can further decipher what you need to do or not, what not to do, and then be okay when there's something that you're not supposed to do, still find your mastery within that, right? Meaning be that Inspector Gadget. So and I'll get into all this, all right? But sometimes people will say things such as alcohol is poison, alcohol decreases your vibration. To me, there's entity possession or an entity attachment if someone speaks that way. Because from one perspective, it is true that alcohol is poison. From a perspective, it's very valid that alcohol can potentially make your vibration decrease, but it's only going to make your vibration decrease if you have a belief that it will make your vibration decrease. If you have a belief that you're running through your operating system, that you're doing it to just loosen your body and to blow off some steam, you just want a glass of wine with your lover or with a friend, there's no harm in that as long as you're using it in moderation. It's all a matter of your beliefs, and your beliefs are responsible for the shaping of your reality. Your beliefs transmit a signal outwardly and bring back a match. So if you have a belief that alcohol is poison, if you have a belief that eating a cookie is a no-no, you're still kind of being your own government. You're still placing laws which belong to a condensed structure or a polarized presentation. Does that make sense? So obviously, I would never advise anyone to drink if they already know they don't gel with that. I don't even drink myself. I'll have a glass of wine maybe once every month, or I'll have an old-fashioned. I love old fashions. I'll have that maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 months. And I never do it to the degree where I'm like completely, I've vacated my body, right? I'm always very present with my body. But the reason why this reality is so quantum is because nothing can be placed in a box. And that's the point of this message today. You cannot place anything in a box. You can try to throw a label on things, but just know that when you try to throw a label on things, like when you tell people, you guys have noticed throughout my journey, I've always told you, if you have an addiction to porn, watch your porn, but the next time you watch it, don't judge yourself for watching it. Love yourself, celebrate yourself, bring intention to it, right? Bring awareness to what you're doing, because otherwise you're setting yourself up to be in this perpetual vicious cycle of I watch porn, but then I shame myself. And then I watch it again, and then I shame myself. Then I watch it again, and I shame myself. So that's not helping anyone. It actually prolongs the process of healing from that. Big time. So anyone who has mastered their mind or is in the process of doing so, you'll never hear someone like Buddha or Jesus or whoever tell you, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. That's very linear. That's a linear presentation. Okay? So the way that these entities work, entities are frequencies. There is a frequency match to sadness. There is a frequency match to anger. There's a frequency match to joy. There's a frequency match to peace, right? The frequency match to peace might be an angel. There's a frequency match to anger, which may be a reptilian being. But there can also be a Pleiadian that's negatively polarized. So Pleiadians aren't always positive. They're collectives like us, right? You can't even throw humans in a box. People can say humans are this way or humans are that way, but it's all relative. It's all based upon someone's perception. We're not the same. We're part of the same collective, but the Pleiadians are a collective like us. Like, not every Pleiadian is the same. They all have their own personality. The Arcturians, they all have their own personality. All right? So what we tend to do within this third dimensional time-space continuum is we love to box things in. We like to box people in. We like to box conversation in. We like to box our beliefs in. We do this thing, and it's so limiting to who we are. We were made in the image of a 12th dimensional being. You're an avatar indwelling this physical body. So whenever you speak in a way that's very limiting, what you're saying is, I'm not divine. What you're saying is, I still can't see. Because once your third eye starts to work in concert with your heart, you can see all of it. All of it. But we tend to be so quick to judge people. Oh, New Age is bad, but Christianity is good. That sounds so dualistic. Oh, drinking is okay, but smoking weed is bad. That's dualistic, right? These things don't advance you. It may be bad for you, though. So there is validity to that argument, meaning that if you state something such as, alcohol is okay for me, weed is not okay for me, then that's what works with your operating system, meaning that you can't put in a computer a file that the computer will not accept. You can't try to force it. You can't try to force food in your body that you're allergic to. That wouldn't be sensible of you. That would not be wise of you. So it's true for you, but you have to understand that you have your own genetic coding, your own wiring, your own energetic makeup. But you also have to understand that if alcohol is okay for you, then it must mean that weed might be okay for someone else, and that alcohol for them isn't good. You see? But what we tend to do as humans is we polarize. And I'm going to expand on that. So the way that these entities work, they are not your enemy, but they can be. Meaning that there are other beings that might think that we are the enemy because we still use the currency of money. But we're not enemies, we're just trying to make a living. These entities are just trying to get their honey. That's all. That's all they're doing. They're like bees to the honey. They're like the moths to the flame. They see an opening in your aura and they're like, whoop, let me jump in there. Because it's an opportunity for me to capitalize. That's all. They're not your enemy, though. The darkness will always show you where your blind spot is. But only you are responsible for having created that blind spot in the beginning. You're not responsible for everything, meaning that, like, let's say that you went through a rape or molestation or something bad happened to you. I'm not suggesting that you deserve that or that you created that. I'm saying that it did not happen accidentally. Meaning that from that, you're going to be able to become a very powerful being. You're going to be able to work with your beliefs, to maybe clear your traumas, to maybe remedy yourself and nurse your wounds. And from there, you're going to emerge like the phoenix that rises out of the ashes, and you're going to be able to facilitate other people's healing. But there's never an accident in that respect. There is a free will. There is a free will. So some people do things that are unkind. And that's true. There are people who choose, because it all comes down to your choice, they choose to do something that's unkind. There will be beings that are unkind, but once you move out of this kind and unkind and right and wrong and good or bad, you don't really view reality like that anymore. You understand that every single thing in this universe serves a divine purpose, even if it's the person that's bullying you and they're being quote unquote unkind, which is unkind. No one is negating that. That person is a match to something that you need, meaning that eventually you're going to stand up and take your power back and voice your opinion and say enough. And from the multidimensional perspective, that bully was kind of like the fuel that you needed to take the reins of your life and take your power back. Okay, so once you move out of duality into this unified state, meaning that you're not your own enemy anymore. You don't have enemies anymore. You truly honor every being and every frequency for what it is that it presents in your life, because what it's presenting in your life has to be presented in your life for you to gain more awareness, for you to increase your frequency, for you to be more aware of all the details that are constantly going on within this quantum field. There is nothing that is here that isn't serving, meaning that if you have someone who's a hitman and kills people for a living, if they're around you and you're not on their list, right? They might have a very like scary aura about them, but that scary aura in that moment is teaching you how to like keep to yourself. Like don't look at him in the eye. So even from that perspective, you're growing as a being, you're expanding, you're interacting with all these different energies and all of these different ingredients within this soup of reality in order to broaden your horizons by getting in tune with what's needed from moment to moment to moment. You're broadening your horizons by getting in tune with what's needed from moment to moment to moment. Sometimes you have to speak up. Sometimes you have to be quiet. Sometimes you have to give respect. Sometimes you just say, screw it, I'm not respecting you. It's a game that you're in. But the thing is, mastery happens when you step out of all of that, meaning that you do end up respecting everyone regardless. You stop playing those roles. Because as long as you're playing those roles, it means that you're over-identifying an ego. And whenever you over-identify an ego, these entities are able to siphon your energy. They're able to come in like pirates in Captain Hook, and they're able to take your energy. So entity possession will not happen if you are sovereign, meaning you have learned to get along with all the other beings in our universe. You understand the purpose that they serve. You're not pointing a finger anymore. You're not delegating a blame game anymore. You're not shaming them or yourself. That's when you start to move into neutrality. It is from the space of neutrality that you can birth new universes, that you can birth new galaxies, that you feel more supported because all the other beings don't feel judged by you. So all the other beings know that they can work with you. Is this resonating? So what I was saying is that in an older format, I used to see it as like this big bubble of light, almost like a bag of water, like a plastic bag. And our light was the water that was being held by that bag. And then we would do something that was out of alignment or out of integrity or out of honesty. And then we would pop a hole in this bag and our light, our energy would start pouring out. It would start leaking out. And then we would feel fatigued or we would feel depleted energetically. I see it differently now, even though that presentation is as congruent with the one I'm about to share. How I see it now is, as mentioned earlier, your beliefs are responsible for shaping and creating your reality. So the more that you enforce or reinforce a belief, the more jagged edges you have around your aura. Okay? And that's what these entities want to do. Or the matrix, the 3D matrix. What they want you to do is overly identify with the belief. And every time you energize that belief, can you see like a jagged edge, like a pointy edge? Okay? That pointy edge is almost like a portal that other entities can access because you've fed that energy so much. So think of angles as being consciousness, okay? This is just another perspective. Think of angles as being consciousness. A square has its own consciousness. You know, this inanimate object has its own consciousness. Everything has a consciousness. These beings, they want you to create these angles that are rigid, that are jagged, that are sharp. You, the light being that you are not sharp. You're adaptable. You can move into the hood and get along with everyone. You can also move into a very affluent neighborhood and get along with everyone, meaning that you're not polarizing either direction. You're able to hold your own because you're sovereign, because you don't feel indebted to anyone, because you respect everyone. And when you respect everyone, you do the right thing. And when you do the right thing, you don't feel like you have to play games anymore. You're just standing as this pillar of light who cannot be infiltrated, who cannot be hijacked, who cannot be corrupted, because all you have now are friends in the universe. It doesn't matter if it's an ugly looking thing, or if it doesn't matter if it's a reptilian, or it doesn't matter if it's an Arcturian or an Andromedan. You are fully supported and backed by the universe because you're no longer polarizing and saying, this is good, this is bad. So how I view it is like we're supposed to be these, well, I'm a dot. Like I'm Mr. Dot, but we're supposed to be in between all of these different structures, right? Some people call it the midway. Some people call it the Tao or the Tao. I don't know. I don't follow people. But it's about finding that space in the middle, that space between the cells in your body, that space between all these different structures, but not in a way where you're bypassing those structures, in a way where you've already gotten familiarized and befriended all of them, and you dove deep into them and you scuba dived and you got to know them. And once you got what you needed from that and they got what they needed from you, you're like, wow, thank you for this wonderful exchange of information, of cosmic information, of light data. And now I'm going to go back to the 0 point field, into that space of neutrality. So it's not about living in a space in the middle by avoiding the left side and the right side, the masculine and the feminine, the good and the bad. No, you want to be able to say to people, I agree with everything that you're feeling because I've been there, because I've already explored that terrain of consciousness, not in a condescending way, but I understand what you're going through. So you wouldn't tell them, I know what you're going through because I've been there. You would say, I can relate to what you're going through. I can relate to it because it's true. So if someone says to you, I have a demon attached to me, and you say, oh, no, you just have a limiting belief, that's you having an entity attached to you. Okay, it's like an angle that's been reinforced so much and energized so much that it constantly pulls you back into that polarity field. Are you guys getting this? So it's like we create all these angles, which are good. Like ultimately, you want to look like a diamond. So the angles are good. You want to look like a diamond, but you don't want to be any of those angles, meaning that you're creating a matrix around you. You're creating this aura around you. And it looks like a diamond that's glowing, okay? And it radiates so much light. But the thing is, you're not identifying and entangling yourself with all of what every angle represents. One angle might represent that, you put people in check. One angle might represent that you get angry and you're like, how could you do this to me? I trusted you. All of those angles are true. That's the thing. They're all true. All right. They what they do is they create these personalities. They create these behaviors. They're patterns. Okay. So they're patterns. What we want to do is de-pattern. What we want to do is deconstruct. But you're not really deconstructing it because it's always going to be there. All you're going to do is learn how to operate from the middle, and then you can move into those angles, but still operate from the middle because you've already played the game of being the angle by being hijacked by these other beings. These beings aren't bad or good. Think of it like this. Let's say that one star race, and this is just a metaphor. Let's just say that one star race specializes in seeing your darkness. Right? It can take a magnifying glass and I see all of your darkness. And let's say that this star race is called, I don't know, the Greys or whoever. It doesn't really matter because I don't specialize in those different star races. But let's say that you have an extraterrestrial intelligence that specializes in, I can see all of your darkness. I've had that ability since I was a kid. I used to look at people without saying anything and I could go into the deepest trauma. And I didn't know at the time that I knew how to do this, but I kept triggering people all the time. That's because I had this inherent ability that I've probably had many lifetimes on simultaneous timelines where I'm able to go in there and pull out the darkness in people. But in order to pull it out, it has to get triggered first, right? So the ego doesn't like to feel triggered. The ego's like, oh my God, this guy's making me feel naked. Yeah, it takes one look to make you feel naked, but that's a gift. Now let's work on clearing that out. All right. But that's a whole other topic because I won't do that unless I'm given permission. If I do that without permission, then I'm still playing in the polarity game. I'm still playing in the I'm better than you because I can read you. That's not neutrality. That's still polarity. But I'm able to do that because I was in that polarity for a long time. And then I understood the purpose that it served. It showed me that I'm like a doctor, that I'm able to, in 2 seconds, go into someone's darkness, meaning their traumas, their unresolved issues, and I'm able to activate it and then pull it out. So I just saw someone say, do you ever channel a demon? That's the thing. We want to get out of the whole demon thing. That's still duality. It's not about that. So do demons exist? Yes, there are humans who are demons. There are reptilians who are demons. They're not demons though. Everything serves a purpose. I'm going to give you an example. This is something that came to me a week ago. If you were at the gym and someone started blasting their music, not on their AirPods, I'm talking about on their phone. They're like blasting their music and you're at the gym. Okay. The part of you that would get agitated, thank you so much, Samantha. I appreciate you. And thank you, Shiona. I see you as well. Thank you so much, Samantha. All right. So the part of you that might get aggravated because this person's blasting their music and it's really inconsiderate, that might be a being or an entity. It might be an entity, either yours or theirs or both, meaning it's a guide. It's like a spirit guide. It may be a demon. It may be an angel. It doesn't matter what it is. It's information. So if you get agitated because someone's blasting their music, that quote unquote demon is giving you information. It's saying this person isn't considerate and that's why we're getting mad at them. We're sending them a signal through you so that they can wake the hell up. So that if you act on it, then yes, you're moving into polarity. If you're able to take the information and remain the dot or remain in that space in the middle, then now it's a win-win because you've just got new information and you're not allowing that person to knock you off your vibrational stool. That's mastery, you guys. It's being thankful for all of the information that streams into your consciousness. That is you, that is them, that is all of our higher selves working together to bring balance to this universe. But the demon that's getting mad has a right to get mad. It is the opposite frequency, or it is the mirrored frequency of that person being inconsiderate. Do you see? So everything serves a function in this universe. If you act on it, then yes, you're going to feed that demon. You're going to feed that demon and you're going to end up polarizing yourself, meaning you're going to reinforce the belief that people are inconsiderate, that people are assholes. You're going to reinforce that belief. What's going to happen when you reinforce that belief? You're still a slave to your reality because you're still under the governance of these different beings. You see? So we're acting as mediators. We're acting as the middlemen. We're acting as the bridges. We are the really powerful ones because we can tell that being, hey, thank you for that information, but I still sense like you're agitated and you're fine. Don't worry about it. I've got this. Okay? Just because there's a higher dimensional being doesn't mean they're smarter than you. This is why we're on planet Earth, because we are here to bridge the gaps. We are here to be the living and the leading example. We have all of the extraterrestrial races and the angelic beings within us. Your DNA was made 12 strands, but most of us are only utilizing 3 strands. So how are we going to increase our capabilities and our abilities? By starting to observe what happens without acting on it. Do you get it? So this can manifest in a myriad of ways, okay? It can manifest in ways where you're opening up to someone. This just happened to me recently. I opened up about something I wanted to share that was really personal. And I just wanted to be heard. And I just wanted to feel supported. And the other person flipped a switch. Like they got really reactive. The reason why they got reactive is because they have unresolved trauma that they haven't yet uprooted and purged, okay? I was fine. I was sharing it from a place of balance. The other person flipped a switch and they weren't able to keep their cool, to stay collected. Now, I get that what I shared was a lot, but regardless, I had already integrated what I needed to share, and this person still polarized. Now, I'm not mad at this person for polarizing. What it is an underlying trauma that they haven't attended to yet. That's how it works. So what does that show me? It shows me that they've been feeding limiting belief systems and unconscious programs that are like this jagged edge or this angle, or you can call it the hole in your aura, and they're compromised now. They're compromised because now they're threatened by anything that is foreign. Okay? And I promise you, most humans would be very threatened by an alien ringing at your doorbell. So we have to learn very basic lessons on this planet that aren't really basic. They're actually very complex because they interrelate to everything that's going on in the cosmos. But this is our means of preparing for disclosure. This is our means of readying ourselves for the grand awakening, meaning when we actually become those galactic civilizations and we actually see that there are other extraterrestrials. So if you're not able to have a mature conversation where you don't move left or right like a pendulum, you don't swing left and right like a pendulum, then it means that you're definitely not ready for disclosure. You're just not, because you haven't really met yourself yet. Disclosure happens from within. Disclosure is meeting your higher self and accepting all of that light and integrating all of that light. But what most humans do is they're super petrified of accepting that light, because that means they have to give up what they're hanging on to. That means they have to be willing to transform. That means they have to be willing to unbranch themselves from their beliefs. And a lot of people don't want to unbranch from their beliefs, you see? So our job is to do our due diligence to hold a space for all of these people, because if you end up judging them, you're just feeding those demons. All right, let me move into the next thing I wanted to say. How do these entities work? And again, these entities don't have to be malevolent or benevolent. That's still dualistic. That's still dualistic. They're just beings that hold a consciousness that is allowing us to come into a greater measure of who we are. They're showing us things about ourselves that we can't see. This way, we can bridge the gaps, we can unify from within, and then we're not operating from separation anymore. We're not operating within this polarized state anymore. We're able to be in the middle, understanding this and agreeing with this, and understanding that and agreeing with that. It doesn't have to be this or that. That's a lack consciousness. It can be this and that. It can be two opposing perspectives coinciding. It can be two opposing perspectives coexisting. It doesn't have to be this or that. It can be this and that. And knowing that you are none of those. You get it? That's mastery. So the way that these entities work is, what I was shown today is that they cannot possess who you are, meaning the light being that you are. The light being that was created or procreated by God, which is you. God created you. That light being, that original self, cannot be possessed. No one can touch you. You're indestructible, you're untouchable, you're immortal. No one can get close to you, okay? You are unable to be possessed as a light being, okay? But what happens is we're in this third dimensional space, or in this third dimensional reality or fifth dimensional reality, and what these entities do is they can drop a thought in your mind. So have you ever walked by someone and you hear like a really mean thing that you say in your mind? That's happened to me thousands of times, okay? It had to keep happening until it doesn't happen anymore, meaning that you have to neutralize that energy. That's why I keep showing up. You have to neutralize that energy. And when you neutralize that energy, you move back into the space of the 0-point field. So when you walk by someone and you have like an insidious thought and you're like, ooh, that was not very nice. These entities, they want to generate energy through you, meaning that they want you to believe that that thought is yours. And it is yours from one perspective, because you have a belief that correlates to that thought. Okay, if you have a belief that you're going to be poor, you're going to receive a thought saying you don't have money. So your beliefs and your thoughts, they correspond together. Okay, so it is yours because you've obviously accepted it. You've accepted that lack through the course of your life or many lifetimes. But what these entities want to do is they want you to keep feeding that belief. They want you to keep feeding that thought. And what most humans do, because they're unaware, is they will take the bait and then they're going to feed that structure, which keeps them polarized. which means that the next time they have a conversation with a friend and that friend opens up to them, they're probably going to go, oh, but you shouldn't do this. Oh, but you should do this. And they're not letting that person speak. They're interjecting constantly. That's your own trauma. The trauma equates to all of these different structures and these angles that you've created that aren't bad. We actually want to keep those angles, but we don't want to identify as them or in them or with them. And there's this theme going on in the collective right now where it's very noticeable when someone hasn't done their work. You say one little thing and you're talking about orange, and now they're talking about purple. You're like, how did you just jump from orange all the way to purple? Right? Like they sidebar. That's polarity. They're like, whoop, I'm over here now. That's polarity. It means that they fed a structure so often that they're a slave to that structure now. That structure was never intended. Okay, and I'm going to backpedal in a moment. That structure never intended to enslave them. Some beings do want to enslave you, though, so it's both. Some beings, some of these structures want to enslave you. But if you flip the coin, they don't want to enslave you, they just want to inform you. Like, hello, human, you are very powerful and you keep taking the bait. When are you going to wake up and say no to us? When are you going to stop diverting your energy and your attention to this limiting belief? Like, that's why we're here. Is this too deep for you guys? I don't know. I'm getting a few messages right now. Okay, is it fine? I know I should probably wrap up because it's a lot of information to process. We have 860 people in the house. Thank you, guys. And let me just thank Catherine. I appreciate you. Infinite blessings back. And Mary, thank you as well. All right. So this is the prevalent theme that is taking place within our human collective right now. You've processed something. You've dealt with your traumas. And then when you speak from a place of neutrality, you witness someone completely swing. You're talking about a mermaid, and now somehow you ended up talking about a dragon. And you're like, how the hell did we get to the dragon? I was talking about a mermaid. That's because you're dealing with someone who's fragmented. But you're also fragmented if you try to awaken them. Your job is not to awaken. That's still polarity. You see what I'm saying? This is so intricate. This is such a deep process that requires a lot of awareness. So you see someone swing all the way to the other side of the pendulum, and now you're trying to bring them back. That's still you playing in polarity, and that's still you reinforcing that belief that you need to save people. Instead of letting it go, it's fine, they're not there yet, it's cool, but I can still hold a space and still love them and tell them that I love them and reassure them. But I just want you to grasp how intricate this process is. It's not I'm going to do ayahuasca and I know everything. No, this is about integrating energy within your body. It's integrating light within your body. That cannot happen in one ceremony, right? Like, it's a lifelong mission. It's a dedication, but you eventually reach a certain level where you're like, oh, I recognize that I still polarize sometimes, but I know what to do. Like, I'm already connected to this infinite structure of intelligence. So even though I messed up right now, I understand. Like, I understand how to access that intelligence now. That's what changes. What changes is you're truly not under the governance of these different systems. You've reached a point where you've passed a marker where you're now in control. You're now in control. It's not dictating your reality. You're the one that's steering your ship. You're the one that's driving your boat, and you have all of this information available to you all the time. It's like this big cloud that's above your head that's raining blessings and raining intelligence and raining all these light codes upon you. That's how it works. So that's the difference. I still polarize sometimes. But the thing is, okay, this is something else I need to discuss. It's okay to polarize. It's okay to polarize and say that someone hurt you, because that's not polarity. That's you expressing yourself. If someone doesn't let you express yourself, it means they're polarized. It's okay to talk about, oh, I want to go have a drink. And when I go have a drink, I'm going to observe myself through it all. That's not polarity. That's you deciding that you're going to be a cosmic explorer and you're going to visit a new landscape or you're going to visit a new domain of frequency so that you can understand those angles or those particular patterns. And then while you're in it, just accept that you're there and enjoy the experience. That's part of the human experience. If you go and you have a drink and then you're like, oh my God, drinking is so bad, it's poisonous, that is indicative that you are still polarized. Do you guys get that? So you're not being encouraged to go drink or to go do drugs. Don't do that. If you don't want to do that, don't do that. Your soul will guide you. I'm saying that we have to get out of the mentality that is limiting our reality. We have to get out of the mentality that is limiting our reality. That's all. So I think I shared enough for you to stew over, even though I can talk about this all day. I can talk about this as it relates to television, as it relates to your family members, as it relates to your lovers. I can talk about this all day because, again, it's an infinite intelligence. There's no end to this. We can talk about this all day long. But I think I shared enough for you to be able to chew on and allow yourself to process the light data, meaning this is a vibrational transmission. Yes, the words are important, but more so the key codes are important. So I hope that helped you guys. And I called it cleansing your aura before 2020 because I want you to pay attention, right? Like I'm like, oh, what about the title? Yeah, what was the point of the title? The title is, I want you to pay attention in your life. This is so important. I'm so glad I didn't just end the video. I want you to pay attention in your life as to when it is that you polarize, right? Someone sharing a story with you and they're just opening up. They're wanting to feel safe. That's all they're wanting. They want to feel safe. Provide that safety for them. Just listen. Just shut up. Just shut up. Listen, open up your heart and know that in that moment, you're expanding as well. Because whenever you feel like you want to speak or you want to speak out of turn, you're instead going to remedy that aspect of yourself that is polarized. That aspect of yourself that wants to jump in and say, but you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. So you're being asked right now to shut up. Okay? The guys are saying, shut up. The other thing I want you to take notice of is when you share, pay attention when someone polarizes. And then pay attention to whether or not you're going to believe them. Because if you believe them, you're still polarized. This is about you standing as a sovereign being, knowing that you can communicate anything you want, and that eventually humanity will raise to such a level where they will be able to handle anything you share. There's no running anymore, you guys. There's no trying to escape these conversations. There's no bypassing. You can't bypass. If there's something you're not tending to in this life, you're going to have to revisit it. That's just how the cookie crumbles. You cannot bypass stuff. Haven't you noticed that, like, when you gossip about people? I've done it in my past, long ago. I used to gossip because, anyways, we all did, right? That was a collective energy at the time. Haven't you noticed that when you start to heal yourself from the gossiping and you want to become a better person, you have the temptation to gossip again, but then you share with a little more mindfulness. And then the time after that, you share with a little more mindfulness than you had before that, and a little more, and a little more, and a little more. That's because we can't bypass stuff. We're on a cycle and we have to recycle these energies. You can't say, I'm done. It doesn't work that way. You have to face every fear. You have to face every limitation. You have to face everything that's in your body that's rooted in separation. All of it. So instead of getting mad at someone when they say, hey, what would you like to eat? Right? You might get mad when they're not able to make up their mind. See it instead as an opportunity in that moment to see it differently. Oh, that person is asking you because they're eventually hoping that you'll answer and you won't get mad at them. Start thinking bigger. I know that was a weird example, but start thinking bigger. You know, this is for the fellas out there. If you have a woman in your life who you thought was needy because all she wanted to do was talk about your issue. I'm asking you to reassess that. Oh, maybe I was the limiting one. Maybe I wasn't holding a space for her. Maybe she was giving me an opportunity to expand. And she kept trying because she was hoping that you would eventually have a breakthrough. Right? These are the kinds of epiphanies we have the more that we ascend. We go, oh, that person was needy for a reason. It's because I was still shutting down and I wasn't letting them in. And they are an aspect of me that I need to eventually confront. We can't shy away from these things anymore. You understand? This is major stuff. I can be on here 15 hours today to talk about this stuff. So I love you. I feel good. I feel accomplished. I feel like we did this thing. So thank you. And please share the video if it was inspiring for you. Please subscribe. And thank you for your donations. And I'll attach a link if you'd like to donate and support me. I've been doing more free content and I'm headed that direction even more so now. And I will attach a link. It's just feelgoodlife.com/donate. feelgoodlife.com/donate. So that's it, my friends. I love you, and I will speak with you in another version of the Now.